Hello and welcome back, everyone. This is another episode in this series of Ancient History of Bharat. Mm, I hope you guys are enjoying this series because I certainly am enjoying reading this book. Obviously, if you are fond of reading, you should definitely read this book. But if you are somebody who is preoccupied, or rather occupied with day to day life, with your job, you have a 9 to 5 job, but still you want to learn about the history and culture of your country. This very great country of ours has a very rich history that stretches way far back in time, but these things were not really taught to us in school in the name of secularism. Okay, that is again a debate and a discussion for a separate video altogether. But usually the reason that is being reasons that are put forward to the to us when we ask that why don't why aren't these things taught to us in schools, because first and foremost they will say there is no evidence for this is just superstition, a bunch of superstitions, these are just hymns. Okay, then why exactly are your scientists, like when I say your scientists, why exactly are the white people doing research on the Rig Samhita and all those things? If these things aren't really of any academic value, why did you guys do research into these things? Something for you to think about. Okay, another reason that a lot of lefties will tell you is like these things do not have any value and whatnot, all those flimsy reasons. And largely lefties will use this secularism as a shield. They will tell you that we cannot teach this history in school because it will incite hatred towards a certain section of the community. Okay, so I still don't see a problem over here in this argument. If they have done such things in the past, okay, what's the harm in talking about it? The least you can do is talk about it and teach students what exactly happened. You aren't teaching them to go out there and seek revenge for the deeds that were done in the past centuries. So why exactly do you not want the youth of this country to get educated in the real history of this country? This is something that all of us must ask, because quite frankly I have given up on the hope that our schools will teach real history. That's just, I mean, it's too political at this point. How can history of a country be political? It's just a subject. If you want to teach history, why not just teach it the way it is? You don't have to be, let me just do this proper. It's a very bad t-shirt, I know, for a video, so forgive me if it looks bad. Yes, I'm a hairy person. I have a little bit of chest hair, but it's not so aesthetic in the videos now, is it? Screw it, let it be the way it is. I don't mind. Alright, now yeah. So this is usually the reason that is put forward, that it will incite hatred towards a certain community. And so hence, by citing secularism and all those other reasons, that hence we cannot teach the real history. And we have come so far from real history that now every other person is an expert in history. Everyone you talk to, they'll read a few articles on the internet, they'll get some summarized version from ChatGPT, and they'll claim to be experts on history. I have, in none of my videos, I have claimed that I'm an expert in history. I'm simply just a sincere and a diligent student of the subject. Okay, I've never claimed to be an expert in history. Okay, hence I'm reading these books. Okay, RC Majumdar has done a great service to his nation. Although, a word of caution, I have mentioned also in my previous videos, this book is based on Aryan invasion theory. So, because at that time it was a widespread thing that you were supposed to believe that nobody lived on this land, nobody populated this land. It was only after the Aryans came from outside lands that they came over here and taught us the way of life. What a bunch of bullshit. And like post 47 onwards, generations after generations, we have been fed these lies and we readily accept it. Okay, yeah, so if you try to question these things, they will label you as a communal bigot, as a hate mongerer. So there is no space for somebody who is genuinely interested in the subject and is asking questions, genuine, real questions as to how to make sense of this or how to make sense of that. Okay, but more about it in further videos. Right now we'll focus on chapter number. Now we have reached book 6. Okay, this, okay, the entire series is divided into, I'm not sure, 9 or 10 volumes, and each book is divided into separate books. Okay, so right now what I am going to refer to is the age of the later Samhitas. Okay, I'm going to show you guys. This is what it says on the book. All right, I have to be sure. Okay, so now we are going to talk about slightly later age than the age when the Rig Samhita was written. Okay, so you don't need an expert, you don't need a white person with multiple degrees attached to his or her names to know about your own culture. It's there in your muscle memory. Okay, but yes, largely all the research that has been quoted in this book has been done by white people. Okay, so let's see, are they honest, are they intellectually honest? We'll know. Okay, we are going to start off with the Samved. First of all, let me just say this outright. Okay? There is no other faith on the face of this earth that has unified, okay, all the realms of human endeavor, be it music, okay, be it arithmetic, be it language, be it the grammar of that language, be it warcraft, be it statecraft. Okay, all these sciences were united into one. Okay, all of them drew inspiration from the cosmic order that we today like to call as dharma. All right, so all these things were united into one. All these things were specially crafted, were specially made to benefit and to further the dharma. Okay, yeah. One of the examples, and people will frequently ask for example, okay, how can you make that? Is a very bold statement to make. So I would really point your attention towards the movie about Srinivas Ramanujan. Okay, there is this movie, a very fantastic movie. It has Dev Patel in it, The Man Who Knew Infinity. Alright, in that movie there is a scene wherein Dev Patel, as Ramanujan says, an equation makes no sense to me unless it expresses a thought of God. Okay, so be it Ramanujan, be it Aryabhat, be it all those saints, be it any famous philosopher, even Shushruta Charak and all these people, alright, for them, okay, science or even math or arithmetic, anything for that matter, was a tool to further dharma, or was a way in which they expressed their gratitude towards dharma. Okay, all they knew, everything they knew had to be in service of the dharma. All right, so for us, okay, for Westerners, everything has to be separate. Okay, this is math, this is science, this is language. But when you come to this part of the world, especially in the South Asian subcontinent, all the sciences unite into one single thing, right? And every given subject, not just science, I mean humanities as well, all right? But yes, there are going to be people out there who will say that no, now it's, we need separate texts, and yeah. Alright, so yes, somewhere there is this one, what can I say, one allegation that is made towards Samved is that most of the content in Samved has been taken from the Rig Samhita, and that is true. Okay, majority of the hymns that we find in the Samved has been taken from the Rig Veda. Okay, so what might be the reason? There has to be a reason why, Samved, because there has to have been some years that might have passed between the Rig Veda and the Samved. Okay, so somebody made an effort to write Samved. All right. Now, why would a rational person simply just copy everything that was written in the Rig Veda? There has to have been a reason, a good reason at that. Okay. Now, one logical explanation that you can draw from this is Samved has largely to deal with sound, okay, music and everything else. All right. So there must have been, although they might have copied all the hymns that were written in the Rig Samhita, but Samved might have added some sort of a tune to it, okay, some sort of a music to it. Okay. So they've not simply just copied down everything, they might have given some or the other musical notes or something like that, but due to lack of evidence, we know why exactly haven't our documents and our scriptures and most of our knowledge systems, why haven't they exactly survived? Okay, there were libraries that were burnt. Okay, so did just storybooks burnt in Nalanda? Okay, there was a lot of knowledge, a corpus of knowledge, centuries worth of knowledge that was burnt in Nalanda. All right, they weren't just storybooks, they weren't just novels written by the likes of Shakespeare and all those people. They were not works of fiction. All right. So yeah, but let's not get into that. It's an endless debate that I don't want to get into. But yes, there are pieces of the puzzle that are irreversibly missing, and hence we cannot reach a conclusion that simply just Samved has no literary value because all it does is copies the hymns that were written in the Rig Samhita. We don't know how exactly they are different because we don't even know whether there existed some sort of a supplementary book to guide us, some sort of a guide to facilitate our understanding of Samved. We don't exactly know. All right, so we cannot reach a single conclusion about does Samved have any literary value or not. Similar is with other Samhitas as well. This chapter largely talks about technical things. Even I had to spend a lot of time googling things, what this means or what that means, but largely to give you a brief overview about these things is even the Yajurved was also divided into two parts, the black and the white. Okay, we don't exactly know, was this based on the color of the people or was this simply just like a distinction. Okay, so we don't know, but yes, there are two parts in the Yajur Samhita or Yajurved. And one thing I really want to see is RC Majumdar keeps on quoting people in this book, and most of them are white people. I don't know if you can see in this camera or not. This is Schroeder, this is Keith. Okay, all throughout this book he will quote Western scholars, and we are supposed to take their word that the research that they have done into these scriptures is supposed to be correct and genuine. There was no intellectual dishonesty. They did not have any vested interest to keep us intellectually subjugated. But now that we have social media and everything else, and now that we have adopted their language, okay, as much as it pains me to admit, okay, that yes, we have adopted their language, that is English, up to a larger extent, but yes, there are also vernaculars that are surviving. I'm not saying to demean any of the vernaculars that we have. All of that is fantastic, and more power to all of them who are working towards development of these vernaculars. But the point that I'm trying to make is largely the knowledge in our country is disseminated, not even knowledge, information in our country is disseminated through language of the English. Okay, so now that we have adopted their language, we understand things. Okay, we understand the definition of vested interest, we understand the definition of confirmation bias. Okay, so during those times when these researches were published, they were looking for ways to keep us intellectually subjugated. Remember, when the British were here, they were not exactly very large in number. Okay, so they had to come up with intellectual justification for their racial superiority, and in that process they might have been intellectually dishonest. Okay, so yeah, so majority of the sources that RC Majumdar quotes in this book are research papers or research work that were done by the Westerners, and I have zero faith in their intellectual honesty and sincerity. The basic language of the Atharva Samhita or Atharva Veda is, however, not too unlike. Say, the Sanskrit of the Atharva Veda is, however, not too unlike. Sorry, let me just read it again. I read the same line twice. Okay, let me read it again. The basic language of the Atharva Veda is, however, not too unlike, say, the Sanskrit of the grammarian Patanjali, and is on the whole not difficult to understand, excepting where the text consists of purely magical incantation, which the authors, as is everywhere the case with similar compositions, intentionally tried to make obscure. Okay, there is some degree of difference between the kind of Sanskrit that is written in the Rig Samhita and the kind of Sanskrit that is written in the Atharva Samhita or Atharva Ved. Okay, so make of that what you will, because language is definitely a living entity. Alright, whenever somebody tells you to contribute or make your contribution towards the development of your vernacular, please do that. Okay, language is a carrier, language carries culture. So we have to save languages in order for us to be able to save our culture. Okay, now having said that, like I said just previously, that we have adopted this language of English. Alright, so there is no escaping it. Alright, I guess this is the legacy that we'll have to just live with it. There is no escaping it. All we can do is master it and be good at it. Alright, that's the best thing that we can do, right? Next up is the mantras of the Atharva. This is on page number 411 in that book. RC Majumdar, he writes, the mantras of the Atharva Veda, on the other hand, were meant for application of humbler Griya sacrifices of the common people, evolved round the plain and simple primitive fire cut. Now, this is something that this will appeal to your sense of imagination, because you don't have, materialistic proofs to justify the arguments that I'm going to make right now. So I'm going to give you a word of caution or a disclaimer. All of this is simply just an imaginative exercise. Okay, imagine that the human beings have made their transition from hunter-gatherers to settlers. Okay, now as and when time progresses, this inherent need of human beings to conquer and be the most powerful versions of themselves. Okay, so clearly there are going to be some people who will start early, okay, who will capture power early, and once they have reached the top, okay, they would not want others to, I'm not going to say get there, I'm just going to say they don't want others to not get there, but they also don't want it to be easier for them. Now that they have found the way, okay, they're going to make it difficult for others to reach those same heights. Okay, so yes, clearly the people who had managed to gather or accumulate power, okay, because keep in mind they just had made the transition. Okay, so not everyone would have been so quick at adapting to the new ways of the life after making that transition, because now that they had leisure, some of the people were looking to conquer new lands. Some of the people were looking to conquer other lands because they wanted their cows, because remember, cow was the cow was the center of the economy. Okay, you can say it was a bovine economy, if I may use that word. But yes, so Atharva Samhita or Atharva Veda was largely a commoner's guide to make those sacrifices. Okay, so the mass of the populace had still not abandoned the Aryan way of life. Okay, although there might have been some resentment between them and the people who were in the position of power, because they were the ones who were able to organize and orchestrate all those sacrifices on a larger scale. Okay, but the people who were commoners, they also, you know, were still practicing those sacrifices. Okay, and that need to stick by the cosmic order, that is dharma, gave rise to Atharva Samhita. Why? Because they needed some guidance, they needed some hymns to practice those sacrifices. So the mere fact that even after being, I would not use the word exploited, even being so far away from the center of power, that was allegedly usurped or grabbed by the upper caste people. Again, caste is a misnomer, but let's use it for the sake of understanding, because majority of you will understand it that way, because that is how majority of us were taught in school. Okay, so even though we might say that the upper classes had usurped and grabbed power, the people who were allegedly the lower classes, they also did not let go of the dharma. Okay, they had this need of practicing it, and hence comes up another text, that is the Atharva Veda, because it has ways and means and hymns to let a commoner organize those sacrifices in the comforts of their own home. They did not organize such mass events. Okay, even though there is also some mentioning about, now this is something that we need to speak about, because there is one particular varna in our population that has been vilified, and some kind, they have been considered as some kind of a devil. Okay, that is, yes, I'm talking about the priestly class, the Brahmana. Okay, now I know it's a very sensitive topic for a lot of people. The entire politics of our country revolves around the Varna Pratha. But like I said, the more we delay these difficult conversations, the more likely are the politicians to take advantage of these things. Okay, so there is some degree of arrogance and condescension. Okay, the tone of Atharva Veda is rather a lot of people will say it's it's some sort of a revolt against the priestly class. Okay, so they themselves came up with this idea that you cannot kill the Brahmins, you cannot steal their cows, and it will invite the wrath of the gods, because they know some magical hymns and all that. So I'm not going to purposefully hold back some of the details that RC Majumdar mentions in the book, because it is written in the book, right? The Brahmana's supposed privileges have thus been shamelessly asserted in the Atharva Veda, and of his obligations there is hardly any mention. Okay, so all the supposedly privileges that the priestly class enjoyed, okay, they have been shamelessly asserted. That is the word, that is the adjective and the word that RC Majumdar uses in his book on page number 413. So yeah, you can say that yes, since there was accumulation of power in the upper classes, and Brahmins, they are the uppermost varna, they have asserted their power in the Atharva Samhita. Okay. The community in which the Atharvan priest ordinarily moved was no doubt the society of poor and ignorant villagers, to meet the demands of whose primitive superstitions was his principal professional business. Alright, yes. There is also one hymn in the Atharva Veda that talks about election of a king. Now, the fact that it says election of the king itself should say that professions were still not hereditary. Okay, our popular discourse in our country, largely any of the media houses, any of the history textbooks, any of the reference books of history will say that Varna system is, wasn't exactly hereditary, but it, but they will tell you that it is hereditary. Or rather, the public discourse is such that we have been made to believe that all the Varnas are hereditary. But that was not the case. Okay, that was not the case. Now I know there are discussions to be done, there are talks to be had about it might not have been hereditary, but as you know, as the trials and tribulations of time, they became hereditary. Yes, I'm not denying that, but the point that I'm making over here is initially it wasn't hereditary. It is the perversion of time, and largely due to the manipulation of the British and the other invaders, that led or that drives our understanding of the system of classification, that is the Varna system. All right. So there is an entire hymn in the Atharva Samhita, in the Mandala 3, 4th hymn, which talks about the election of a king. So why would you have the need to elect a king? Wasn't it hereditary? You should ask yourself these questions. Now that you know that it is written in the Atharva Samhita that the kings were elected, otherwise why would they have the need of writing a hymn for the election of a king? Something for you to think about. Alright. So yeah. And one thing, like I said, Varna Pratha, and I'm like, when I say all these things, I'm not advocating bringing it back. That's not what I'm doing. I'm simply just picking up a concept that was in practice far back in time. Okay. Now, I'm not advocating bring it back and let us implement it in the word and spirit. No, that's not what I'm advocating. What I'm trying to point out is all that we know about Varna Pratha has been distorted, okay, has been purposefully manipulated to divide us, to polarize us, so that we never unite as a nation and we never reach the heights that we are destined to as a nation. All right, but I would say even the leftist scholars would agree on this point that Varna Pratha was never hereditary. So, so to talk a little bit more about that, due to the Varna Pratha, largely it is the priestly class that has been vilified and made some kind of a devil. Okay, it is in the popular discourse. It is said that it is the priestly class, the Brahmins, they are the ones who are responsible for the downtroddenness of the lower classes. The historic injustice that was done to the lower classes, the blame of those injustices that were meted out to the lower classes falls on the Brahman, on the priestly class. Okay, let me just give you a rather uncomfortable analogy. Obviously this there is a lot of context to be had in this, but let me just give you a primer. Whenever you hear any of the debates about Muslim exceptionalism in our country, all right, this argument is usually brought forward. Do you think that the contemporary Muslims are responsible for the monstrosities and the atrocities that were perpetrated to the pagans in the name of their religion? Of course not. Almost all of them would say that no, modern day Muslims and the contemporary Muslims are not responsible for what their religious forefathers, Mughals, did. So why does that logic apply to the priestly class? How does the contemporary priestly class, why are they being held responsible for what the injustices that were done to the lower class centuries ago? Aren't we past that? Okay, so either both of them are wrong or both of them are correct, and one of them certainly has gained traction in the popular culture, but still the other one people even refrain from talking about it. But let's not get too much into that, otherwise we know how people in our country are very much emotional about these things. Okay, mere just talking about this will get people fired up, and I don't want that. This is simply just looking at things objectively. Next, on page number 417, RC Majumdar writes, "Whoever stands, whoever moves or steals from place to place, or hides him in his secret cell, the gods his movements trace. Wherever two together plot, and deem they are alone, King Varuna is there a third, and all their schemes are known." Okay. In the earlier videos of this series, we had discussed that there is a concept of a cosmic order, the wreath. Okay, today that we like to call as dharma. Okay, so there is indeed, the cosmic order is reality. Whenever you disturb or diverge from the cosmic order, you will incur the wrath of Varuna. Okay, and that is what even the Atharva Samhita mentions it. Interestingly, there is also some description about, okay, there is a food variety that goes by the name of Panchaudana. Okay, rice that was served with goat meat. 5,000 years ago, rice was served with goat meat. Aren't we told that biryani is some sort of a Muslim concept? Think about it. Largely in our popular discourse or in pop culture, we are being told that the the pagans of Bharat, whenever their any Muslim acquaintance is celebrating Eid, they go to their place because they want to have a delicious biryani. Why would they go to their place? They can simply just cook it at their home. Okay. Now I have no grudges against the Muslim side for cooking biryanis. Okay, they can do whatever they please. What I'm trying to tell you is, why does everything have to be twisted? Why cannot we just accept for things the way they are? It's written in the, RC Majumdar writes on page number 419, it is mentioned in Atharva Veda, Mandala 9, Haim 5. For those of you who are wondering, you can check this out. Alright, that's it for this episode. The next we will talk about the Brahmanas. Brahmanas, when I say Brahmanas, I mean the commentary on the Vedas. There is an entire corpus of literature that goes by the name of Brahmanas, not the the name of the Varna, that is Brahmanas, but the name of the corpus of literature. Alright, so that's all for this episode of the ancient history of Bharat. I hope you guys are enjoying. If you are, put some comments, let me know what you think about this series. Let me know what has your journey been to unlearn all the false narratives that were taught to you in school about the history and culture of our country. Okay, and if you are not doing it, I very much encourage you to do it yourself. But if you are very busy with all the other responsibilities you have, you can just simply subscribe to my channel, watch these videos, because I myself is on this journey of uncovering some uncomfortable truths about the history and culture of our land. Right, that's it for this episode. I will see you guys in the next episode. Thank you for watching.